Good morning, Licenciada Vega. We're going to start with our project. Introduction. Language is not only a tool of communication, delivering a message, but it's much more than that. It has strength and weakness, which project national character. But bold question of people using different speech styles and wielding their language in the national manner inevitably leads to misunderstanding, not only of expression, but also of intent. Um, just as different cultures don't use speech of the same way, and neither do they listen in the same way. But the moment people of different cultures are involved, the approach of each side will be defined or influenced by culture characterization.
And it's here where a cultural mediator, interpreter, or translator plays a critical role in facilitating successful communication, functioning as an oral link between the cultures of the involved parts. Their work requires some functions like interpreting and translating all the information, spoken or written. So, in other words, a cultural mediator is an individual who interprets between culture, source culture, and target culture. At the same time, is responsible to create a place or a stable relationship that supports both parts of the meeting.
Cultural differences in speech are evident in the way of thinking, in writing, in the way of receiving and giving instructions, conversations, and even in all kinds of negotiations at the global level. That is why the interpreter must be able to interpret each and every element of the different cultures for which he has been hired between stakeholders. With this in mind, of the form of induction, the most relevant cultural aspects that an interpreter should generally know are territorial division, economy, value, system of security, cultural factors of communication, manners, taboos, habits, etiquette, and protocol, among others.
Now, it will represent in the form of how the interpreter should empathize as a mediator, as cultural mediator, through the simplification of Switzerland and Morocco, countries below. Switzerland. In terms of cultural cohesion, Switzerland is a prime candidate for polarization among its inhabitants. Since its citizens speak four languages belonging to four diverse cultural groups, perfect, that is why the Swiss settled instead for a council of 7 prime ministers. Switzerland as a country began with three cantonal alliances in 1291 between the men of Uri, Swiss, and Unterwalden. The French and Italians joined them much later, formally a warlike people who took on a defeated French, German, and Austrian armies before being eventually crushed at the Battle of Marignano in 1550. The Swiss retreated to their mountain strongholds and never left them again. 26 cantons. The country is divided into 26 cantons and three half cantons, where most decisions affecting local people are made, including tax system, welfare scheme, infrastructure, law, holiday, and education. With a female population denied the vote until 1971, with over a million foreign on Swiss soil, 1,050,000 of whom cross the border daily, with 46% of people Catholic and 40% register as Protestant, with stability only achieved in the 20th century. In view of the restricted area available for agriculture, Switzerland has developed an industrial and urban nation. It is particularly strong in metalworking, watches, and other precision instruments, textile, chemical, and pharmaceutical products, tourism, and international banking. It trades almost entirely with three countries whose language Swiss speak Germany, France, and Italy. Culture. Values. As the Swiss have various obsessions, polite, clean, tidy, punctual, caution, worrying, over serious, dull, proper, law-abiding, God-fearing, honest, frugal, saving, environmentally sensitive, family-oriented, disciplined, pragmatic, perfectionist. Moreover, the Swiss take their values seriously, backing them up with visible and effective measure. Their neutrality, for instance, Brussels with arms. Switzerland possesses more weapons per square mile than any other country in Europe. The Alps constitute a veritable fortress with hundreds of bunkers, invisible hangars, nuclear hideout shelter, underground hospitals. Concepts: leadership and status. As in the US, there is a deep-rooted distrust of government in Switzerland. The president has some power, but only 1 year to exercise them, and is closely bound by the Federal Council of Seven and the frequent referenda. On account of quarterly referenda, the common man or woman enjoys a higher status than in most countries. Space and time. Only a small part of Swiss land is arable, and only a small percentage of the people farm for a living. Only the German rival the Swiss in their respect form, and submission too, timetable and schedule. Time is not seen as money in the American sense, but as an important tool in organizing daily life and society. The Swiss do not rush you, but they do not waste their time either. In Switzerland, things usually happen when they are expected, and spontaneity is not a strong point.
Cultural factors in communication. Communication patterns. The Swedes are extremely polite conversationalists in both social and business situations. Their desire for privacy and propriety leads them to carry on discourse in a pragmatic and detached manner. They shun inquisitiveness or rarely pride. They are not exciting speakers. Even the French Swiss lack the charisma and rhetoric of their cousins in France. Swiss Italians in the Ticino are more open, but living in a prosperous area, they display a smoothness not accessible among Italians over the border. Swiss Germans, particularly, are cautious speakers, taking care not to offend and adhering to modesty and reserve in most pronouncements and predictions. They will speak real German or English if you address them that way. Listening habits. The Swedes are good listeners, not having any great urge to expand ideas at length themselves. They forget little of what you tell them, often taking notes while you speak, and they almost never interrupt. They are conservative in their opinions, and it is unlikely that they will be greatly sought by your advice or persuasion. Behavior of meetings and negotiations. The Swedes have a knack of extracting the best deal from opponents, without ever appearing demanding or aggressive. They often achieve this on the basis of self-confidence in the quality and value of the goods and service that they provide. The Swiss do not come cheap, whether it is watches, precision instruments, pharmaceuticals, or ski slopes, but one is often tempted to pay the price. The Swedes are good of making you feel that you get what you pay for. If you try to bargain with them too hard, they stiffen as if you have made a shitty proposal. They are straightforward negotiators who honestly try hard to see matters from an opponent's point of view. You cannot call them inconsiderate. They are quick to make helpful suggestions when it doesn't hit their wallets. For the most part, they are reliable and efficient and can be counted on to deliver. They are strong on confidentiality, manners, and taboos. The Swiss are rather heavy drinkers and inveterate smokers. They also are thorough drugs offenses, although this figure may be artificially high due to the efficiency of the National Police Administration. The Swedes have a large number of manners, customs, and festivals that vary from canton to canton, and you cannot be expected to know a great deal about this. They tend to bury themselves in these activities on public holidays, and foreigners often feel left out. Taboos include boasting, under curiosity, invasion of privacy, and unpunctuality. How to empathize with the Swiss. You do not have to be expecting to make the Swiss like you. They are looking for solidity and reliability in the people they deal with. You should show that you are in good control of your emotions, private life, and financial arrangements. Meetings are always by appointment, and it is advisable to be there 5 minutes early. You should be clean and well dressed, and always display politeness, even if you are bored out of your mind. Small gifts are appreciated when you come from abroad, though the Swiss do not make undue fuss. Propriety is much more important than affection, though when the Swedes begin to like you, they go out of their way to be friendly. Motivating factors. Show you are dependable. Be conformist. Prize the unique Swiss system of government. Acknowledge the high quality of Swiss products. Demonstrate frugality. Address their worries and problems. Maintain administrative neatness. Indicate your financial solidity. Avoid showing you are bored, breaking any law, rules, or regulations. Flippancy or too much humor. Ostentation and eccentric behavior.
Switzerland. What comes to your mind when you think about this country? Expensive watches, chocolate, banks, and why does it always come on top in every major rating of quality of life many years in a row? Let's talk about Switzerland. Switzerland is a very wealthy country in the heart of Europe with a population of just 8 million people. If you thought Swiss economy is based solely upon expensive watches, chocolate, and banks, think again. Switzerland has a stable, prosperous, and high-tech economy. Lots of multinational corporations like Nestle and ABB have their headquarters here. Switzerland is home to numerous international organizations, including the second largest UN office, the Red Cross, WTO, World Health Organization, and 200 others. Switzerland is a landlord's market. In the main cities, demand outstrips supply many times over. And it has 4 official languages: German, French, Italian, and Romansh, which is actually spoken by less than 1% of population. The water quality is amazing. There are beautiful fountains all over Switzerland, and the best part is most of the water is 100% drinkable. The Swiss have their public transportation system down to a science. The trains are on time down to the second, and you can get across the whole country with just one ticket that works for multiple kinds of transportation. You actually want to take public transportation because it's incredibly clean. Switzerland is one of the leaders in exports of high-end watches as well as clocks. Moving to Switzerland is difficult, even for citizens of European countries, but getting the citizenship is a lot worse. And like many countries, a baby born on Swiss soil does not automatically have the right to Swiss citizenship. You can only apply for citizenship after living in the country for 12 years. And until 1992, women lost their Swiss citizenship when they married a foreign national. The Swiss eat more than 10 kilograms of chocolate, which is 22 pounds every year. And they produce more than 150 tons of chocolate every year, and 50% of that is exported. Geneva and Zurich are the 2 major cities, and they regularly rank among the top cities in international ratings. The official currency is Swiss franc, although you can use euros to pay for small things like parking. It's great home base for traveling because Switzerland borders France, Italy, and other countries, and that means a relatively short drive or a train ride can get you to any of these countries. And have you ever wondered why Swiss domain extension is CH? The answer to that is the Latin name for Switzerland spells like this. Switzerland hosts about 20% of the Alps. Approximately 100 peaks are close to or higher than 400 meters above sea level. Speeding fines are linked to your income. Once a driver hit headlines around the world for getting clocked in Switzerland at 290 kilometers an hour, which is about 180 miles per hour, and he faced a world record fine of 1 million francs, which is more than $1 million. When entering Switzerland by car, you have to pay a toll of 40 euros to get a sticker that will allow you to use the Swiss motorways, even if you're only going to stay in the country for 1 day. Great work and life balance and emphasis on sports. People here work to live. 8 to 5 culture is the norm, and people don't work on evenings or the weekends. This applies not only to office-going folks, but also to general stores, shopping malls, and nothing is open on Sundays. Switzerland's innovative policy of providing drug addicts with free methadone and clean needles has greatly reduced deaths while cutting crime rates. The country is very safe, one of the lowest crime rates in the world. As the world's premier private banking center, Switzerland holds an estimated 1/4 of the world's private wealth. The healthcare is top-notch. The country boasts the 3rd lowest obesity rate and the 3rd highest life expectancy of 83 years. The majority of Swiss rent rather than buy, and tenants are protected by excellent rights. A 100 square meter apartment in a major city like Zurich or Geneva will start at around $1,500, but expect to pay much more if for something bigger or centrally located.
Well, I'm going to talk about Morocco. Morocco is a mountainous country of western of North Africa that lies directly across the Strait of Gibraltar from Spain. Regions are currently the highest administrative division in Morocco. Since 2015, Morocco officially administrates 11 regions, including 1. That lies completely within the disputed territory of Western Sahara, and 2. That lie partially within. The regions are subdivided in a total of 75 second-order administrative divisions, which are prefectures and provinces. Morocco is composed mainly of Arabs and Amazigh, or an admixture of the two sizable numbers of Amazigh, live mainly in the country's mountainous regions, long areas of refuge for them where they can preserve their language and culture. And also, all educated Moroccans are bilingual in French and Arabic, and many in the northern part of the country speak Spanish. Morocco is endowed with numerous exploitable resources, with approximately 33,000 square miles, that means 85,000 square kilometers, of arable land, and its generally temperate Mediterranean climate. Morocco's agricultural potential is matched by few other Arab or African countries. It is one of the few Arab countries that has the potential to achieve self-sufficiency in food production. It's when industry is developed and production of commercial crops like cotton, sugarcane, sugar beets, and sunflowers is expanding. Let's talk about the culture. The area that is now Morocco has long been a crossroads between Europe, Sub-Saharan Africa, and the Middle East, and diverse cultural and ethnic groups have migrated through the region and left their mark on it. Social life for most Moroccan will centers on home and family. The Sidewalk Cafe is a favorite gathering place for men, and watching soccer match on television in the local cafe is a popular form of entertainment. Some values we can mention as the more relevant or the more important, the most important are respect, personal relationships, honor, and religion. About respect, Moroccans have a strong belief that you should always respect yourself, your elders, and your superiors. Moroccans are considerate to everyone they meet and expect the same in return. Courtesy is extended to all and it's never acceptable to be rude. In personal relationships, family is placed before the individual and is a key component of Moroccan culture. Moroccans highly value long-term personal relationships, so close friends are often considered family. Trust and friendship play important roles in Moroccan social and business culture. Then we have honor. Honor is extremely important to Moroccans. Dignity and self-worth are especially important, so Moroccans take notice of how others perceive them. Shame is to avoid it at all costs, so Moroccans will often do as much as possible to win the respect of others and to avoid arguments and confrontation. Moroccans are conscious of their reputation and will do whatever it takes to ensure it is not damaged and to avoid shaming their family. With religion, Islam unifies Morocco as the vast majority of Moroccans are Sunni Muslims. Religion plays a huge part in a day-to-day life as well as in Moroccan business culture. Business usually close on Friday afternoons to allow time for prayer, and negotiations are rarely conducted during the month of Ramadan. Arab heritage has been fused with Spanish and French influences to form modern Moroccan culture. Each culture has left an impression of the architecture, design, language, and atmosphere of the nation. Understanding this balance of cultural elements as well as modern day Moroccan business practices is essential for anyone doing business in Morocco. So, we're gonna talk about cultural factors in communication. In this case, in the Moroccan's culture. Let's talk about manners and taboos. As a conservative and religious country, clothing is something you have to be mindful of when visiting Morocco, especially in rural areas. You should always attempt to cover your body parts considered private. For women, private. For women, this can mean covering the arms, at least the shoulders, and the knees up. For men, requires covering up the shoulders and above the knee. Traditionally, Moroccans typically greet with a handshake and sometimes two kiss, but the two kiss only if the people are of the same sex. Um, Most Moroccan, because of the coronavirus, of the pandemic due coronavirus, have reverted back to a common greeting of placing your right hand on your heart after saying hello. For example, hello. Um, or rather, the salam alaikum, that is also a greeting. This is as true for friends as it is now for family members. Then we have the taboos. Um, we have a list of the most relevant taboos. There are homosexuality, sex of any kind, alcohol and drugs, woman menstruation, and blasphemy. Cultural taboos in Morocco tend to be silently or closely tied to religion due to the fact that the vast majority of Moroccans are Muslim. Here we have working relationships, working practices, business and negotiation. In working relationships, Moroccans are not straightforward communicators and will often avoid direct confrontation in business. Moroccans prefer to express excitement or dislike with facial expression and not with words. Moroccans tend to look for term business relations and prefer working with familiar people. It is therefore important to get to know your counterparts on an individual basis and to form stable relationships with those you meet. Having a network of contacts is extremely important in Moroccan business culture and will help you reach your business objectives. In work practices, many Moroccan business practices have been influenced by the French and therefore somewhat formal. Moroccans require a certain amount of formality in all procedures and negotiation, and often view informality as a sign of disrespect. The exchanging of business card in an informal process in Morocco makes sure that one side is translated into French or Arabic. Um, a handshake is required upon meeting new colleagues. Familiar friends may be greeted with an embrace or a kiss. Be aware that when meeting female Muslims colleges saw men should wait for them to extend their hand before shaking. Business and negotiations. The European influence business is almost always conducted in French. However, some companies prefer to use Arabic or English as their standard language. Always check before attending meetings to ensure you have an interpreter is if it is necessary. Most companies are closed from 11 to 15 o'clock on Fridays for prayer. It is also important to avoid scheduling important meetings during the Ramadan. As we mentioned before, it is a special prayer of the religion, an important Islamic holiday. Most Moroccans work from Monday through Friday, but it is always advised that you make sure exactly when your Moroccan business partners will be working. It usually takes time to reach work-related decisions. Moroccans dislike being rushed and may arrive 30 minutes to an hour late for meetings. However, foreign visitors are expected to be punctual. And for last, we have some business etiquette, do's and don'ts. First, do greet everyone formally and do not use first name unless you are given permission. Do take time to establish relationships with Moroccans. It is showing an interest and effort to get to know Moroccans that you meet will improve their perception of you. Moroccans will show you the same attention and interest as networking is popular and essential towards forming personal relationships for requesting and returning favors. Do take time to negotiate as Moroccans do not send rush. Rushing a client is looked down upon and can be perceived as aggression. So don't tend to rush. The don'ts. Don't jump in the subject matter at the beginning of a conversation. It is customary to establish a personal relationship first by asking about their health, their family, friends before discussing the business matters at hand. If your Moroccan counterparts are Muslim, avoid asking about female family members. Don't discuss sensitive subjects such as the king, Islam, women's rights, and sex. Um, these subjects are not tolerated. Don't directly confront someone, especially in public. Moroccans are very proud, so any public confrontation can be detrimental towards your business relationship with them. It is best to use intermediary when possible or someone who knows them who can discuss the conflict for you. If this is not an option, it is acceptable to meet a person in private but avoid using accusatory words and always remain temperate.
Let's get started. I have a list here, so don't mind me if I'm looking off my phone. Yeah, the way we ask how you doing from a distance. If somebody is, you see them from across the street, or you just cross past her at work and you see them from far away, you haven't seen them for a while, you can do this. This means how you doing? How you doing? كيف داير? How you doing? The person from afar can just do this back. That means I'm doing great, and then they can do this as in like thank you. We have a very funny one. Well, I personally find it very funny. Like, it goes like this. Hello. Like, mark my word. I'm not gonna forget about it. It means somebody has done something really bad to you and you're gonna take revenge. You're like, mark my word, I'm not gonna forget about it. You can actually do it against the wall as well. So, like, this or anywhere. As long as you lick your finger before that, then you're good to go. Again, we are still like giving warnings. So if somebody does this, if I catch you, this is warning. I'm gonna like give you some spanking. You deserve some spanking because you're causing trouble. This one. So this one is a warning when you do it against your ear. And this one is like, I'm warning you. I'm warning you that you're gonna do it, but it's not as serious as this one. This one is like more serious, as in like, I know for sure it's gonna be trouble. This one is like, I'm giving you a warning, but it's not as serious as the other one, if that makes sense. This is the best. This is my favorite actually. Tanot. والتسير. You can do this one if somebody is talking crap, or you know they're lying to your face and you already know it. So you can say that as in like, come on, I already know, like, what are you talking about? Would just like go and lie to someone else. It's not gonna work on me. Natty, 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 natty. I can do this if I've seen something huge, or like a huge fight, or like rumor, or you know, like some good rumor, or anyway, something surprising, something shocking. You can do this, natty, 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 as in like something big has happened and it's not good. We have this one. If you are with someone who is being impatient, you can do this. Like, just give me time. Just be patient. Give me time. Or it can also mean you're trying to convince someone to consider you because they know you. You're trying to like get them to consider you or your opinion, or like consider my face when you make that decision. I know in most countries, the way you call someone, in Morocco we do this.
Come here. Aji, no. Come here. Oh, you might see this quite a lot in Morocco, like in the street, if somebody is chasing cats or dogs. Or, yeah, chasing cats or dogs, we do this. Aji, like, come here. So we make this sound. Or if we see something very cute, we say, Rino, Rino. Guys don't do this because it's a little bit girly, but I do it quite often personally. Means walu, like nothing. There's nothing left here. There is absolutely nothing. The way Moroccans beg, like, or, you know, beg not like as in begging in the street, but you're begging someone. We do this. Afek, please, please. And we're talking about the past, or like a long time ago, we do like long time ago. Sometimes we make a funny sound when we want to say no. We just do no. When you see something that is shameful, I would say, we say, really? Like it could go like all ways. You could do just one finger. You can just do this or this. I mean, it just means that you've seen something so shocking and you're surprised. Or we say shuma, as in, for example, in Morocco, it's not acceptable to kiss in the street. So if somebody sees two people kissing in the street, they could say, oh, shuma, or they can say, really, what happened?
As a conclusion, the Morocco's culture is a very formal culture, and they have specific rules and protocols to, especially the negotiation meetings. For example, also it is customary to bring sweets or food to show gratitude towards the host. When eating or passing food, only the right hand should be used. I'm sorry, the right hand should be used. Business deals that should only take a few hours typically last a day or longer due to the Moroccan business culture. Um, you also have to ask permission before taking pictures, or Moroccans, as many consider it offensive and may demand compensation for the photo. And um, another taboo there is um, mention of Moroccans is that most Moroccans prefer to live alone, but it is not like that. Most Moroccans hate or um, hate the idea of living alone and may invite you into their home if you are traveling by yourself. And they are flexible and some things, but they have their protocol for the business negotiation. The culture is very formal.
Conclusion. The interpreter must often be able to explain elements of cultural hierarchy to create successful communication and to efficiently break down the language and cultural barriers between interlocutors. One of the factors leading to poor communication is often overlooked. The national of each country use their language and speech in a different way. Not many people are clever linguists, and all over the world, thousands of misunderstandings are caused repeatedly through simple mistakes. Communication is a two-way process involving not only the communication skill of the speaker, but also the listening habits of the interlocutor or audience. To begin with, we must face the fact that to understand what makes foreign culture speak, there is no substitute for learning their language, reading books produced by the culture, and familiarizing ourselves with the country's history, particularly if we plan to live and work within the country borders.
The role of cultural mediator is still new, but we can recognize that it's gradually emerging in some kind of different part of the world. It's developed by professionals from various branches like translation, interpretation, psychology, anthropology, social work, social education, etc., who have received a specific training because it isn't established in a professional category yet. So the need to have a professional in this area is clear. So this leads us to conclude that the role of interpreter as a cultural mediator has a great relevance and its growth and its should be therefore is essential because by the moment is the one who can substitute or replace that figure very well.